Okay, so we are recording. So this is our very first episode of Tea and Tarot. I'm very excited. So I'm Anjali and I am a tarot reader and I've been reading for about, how long have I been reading? Since I want to say like 6 or 7 years. But why don't you introduce yourself and how long you've been reading for?
Yeah, I'm Felicia. I have been reading tarot since my late teens, so I'm totally aging myself here, 16 or so years. And I love it. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a tarot reader because I just kind of read for myself and friends. So definitely amateur over here.
Amateur. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize how long you've been reading for. I'm the amateur compared to you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So, before we begin, this is called Tea and Tarot. So why don't you talk about the tea that you're drinking and if there are any known benefits to that?
There are. So this tea brand is, I'm gonna butcher their name. It's either Puka or Puka. I'm gonna go with Puka.
Yeah.
And it's an herbal blend. Turmeric, ginger, and I cannot pronounce this, but it's ganglagal or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so basically all of that is just to help with inflammation, digestive issues, respiratory stuff. We all know there's something in the air. I feel like everyone's sick lately, so
Yeah.
trying to stave that off by drinking my tea. What about you?
Cool. I love it.
Virgo, hey.
My favorite mug that my wonderful friend bought me. Yeah, it's my favorite. So I'm drinking, I was gonna drink something else, but I was just feeling in a matcha mood. So I'm drinking my matcha. Yeah, anyone who knows me knows I love my matcha. So matcha has, gosh, there's so many benefits. So it's full of antioxidants. I think they're called catechins, and they're really good for like eliminating free radicals, and free radicals can cause like oxidation and like lead to cancer. So a lot of people say it's like anti-cancer. It's also really like calming on the nervous system and just the body in general because because there's an amino acid called L-theanine in it. So if anyone's watching this and has anxiety or doesn't do well with coffee, this is a great alternative because it just kind of zens you out. And what else? I think it can lower blood sugar, increase metabolism. So it's just, matcha is just magical.
Yeah, magical matcha does it all. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, so this is the first episode. So I thought we could just begin by just talking about just some general questions before we dive into the card that we're going to discuss for this episode. So my first question to you is, when did you find tarot, or how did it find you?
Yeah, that is a good question. So I think everyone has their own journey with tarot. For me, I've always kind of been like an introspective, deep, reflective thinker. And that first started out for me when I was really young. I used to love to read books. I swear I would read for hours, just getting lost in the characters and their worlds. And then as I got older, I got really into theater and acting. And so that kind of just introduced me to a lot of archetypes that I think are represented in the tarot. So making that connection was a short leap for me. I was actually in a metaphysical store, just kind of browsing around. I love metaphysical stores.
Yeah,
there's just like a different energy when you walk in that door. And like, usually there's like chimes right there too. And it just like is this introduction to a magical, calm place. So anyways, there was a local metaphysical store and I was just browsing, looking at crystals. I headed over to the books and they had all those tarot cards there. And I was really drawn to the Druid craft tarot. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's based off the writer Waite. Am I saying that right? Is it writer or Raider?
I think it's Rider Waite. Yeah.
Rider. Okay. Yeah. I always pronounce things weird. So please correct
me too.
So anyways, yeah, I was drawn to that. I just really liked the nature aspect of it. It
Mm-hmm.
was just very calming to look at like some of the illustrations that they showed, and it just kind of brought like this nostalgic feeling in me, like calmness, where like things were simpler and you just kind of like focused on the journey. I don't know. It was just like
Wow.
really attractive to me. So yeah, that was my first deck. I had that for years and years and years. Finally just got a new one, the same deck, but a new one.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had
But
to
it
do
was
that
all
too, because you
ready.
like wear it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. And like it wasn't like I haven't been reading tarot straight for 16 years. I feel like to the end of my teenage years was like a huge transition time. Like I think it is for everyone, right? You're sort of entering
Mm-hmm.
adulthood. Um, which the Fool, right, where we're going to be talking about today, I
Yeah.
feel like that's very apt. But yeah, it's just when I need the tarot to kind of just center and ground myself, I find it's such a great tool for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so on and off, yeah, I've just, when I find myself in kind of a darker place or feeling sort of lost, I need some sort of inspiration or reminder to
Mm-hmm.
trust myself, I find myself reaching for the tarot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat that you were drawn to that based off like how attracted you were to the deck, because that's kind of how I feel, how I came across tarot.
Yeah.
Um, I'm familiar with the Druid. How do you pronounce it again?
Oh yeah, it's Druid Craft.
Yeah, I've heard of it a lot. I don't associate with it a lot. I'll put a picture up too on the screen so people
Okay,
can
I
see.
actually have my handy dandy book right here.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I
So
looked it up after you mentioned it, and I'll put a picture up so people can see it.
I love it.
But the deck that I was drawn to was the Gilded Tarot, and
Hmm.
I'll also put a picture of that up so people can see. It was like the colors just just captivated me, and I was watching a lot of YouTube videos. I had just moved to California from Canada, right? So I just moved to be with my husband, and I didn't have a job, and I was really lost and didn't know where my life was going. But I had this like weird faith. And so I would go on YouTube and I would look up readings, and anyone that like gave me hope, I would just be like, I would just, you just find the readings that like make you feel good and then believe them, right? So that's what I would
Sure.
do. And I came across a woman who was reading with this deck, and it was just like impulsive, like just, I call it impulsive. It might have been intuitive, probably
Yeah.
intuitive. And I just bought it on a whim. I don't know. I didn't have a plan, and it came with this little, like a little book like yours did. But the books are very simple, right? Like anyone who reads tarot knows that, like there are broad, themes with each card, right? Like, but everyone reads a bit differently. Everyone has a different relationship with their deck. And so you kind of have to build on that. So I used that, and I was just doing really simple readings for like friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And then slowly I started realizing like, oh my gosh, like this is picking up stuff. Like this is not just this is real. And just kind of growing on it. But I took mine a bit different. You said you use yours more for like self-development and like grounding and stuff. Where
Yeah.
for me, I have to be careful because it will like freak me out sometimes because I'm not really good at reading for myself. So I find that I'm better at reading for other people.
Yeah. What do you think gets in the way of that? Like that, is there like a block there? What's happening?
I mean, not every reading's bad. Like I've been able to give myself some good guidance and
Yeah, I
even
was gonna
even
say
some
when we
predictive.
chat, you like when you tell me what you're reading for yourself, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm better now. In the beginning, I was not, because
Oh,
I think the ego gets involved, right? Because
yeah, I could see that.
same with, if I've noticed that too, if I'm reading for like a good friend or someone who was just like an acquaintance who became a friend, I can tell like it's
Mhm.
almost like you have to like check in with yourself before the reading to like put your ego away,
And
because
biases and stuff like that. It's
mhm.
hard. I don't think you ever can get fully rid of it, right?
Oh
But you
God,
can
no. Yeah.
try.
Yeah. Just because you want magical joy and happiness, but unfortunately that's just not life. Sometimes we got to deal with some fun lessons. So you kind of answered the next question I wanted to ask. So do you use Rider Waite, Marseille, or Thoth? And it
Yeah,
sounds like Rider Waite's kind of your go-to.
yeah, for sure. Like I've heard of the other two throughout my journey, but I don't know. It's just like the Rider-Waite was the first one I picked up on, and I'm a loyal kind of gal, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know too much about them. The only thing, Marseille was the first one developed, I think, and Rider-Waite, and what is it, Thoth?
I think it's Thoth or Thoth. Again,
I don't
I
even
don't
know how
pronounce.
to.
Yeah, I don't know. So if anyone else knows, like, don't judge us. We don't know what we're talking
Thothy.
about. I
I
think
don't
it's
use
Thoth.
Thothy.
It's
Thoth.
spelled Thoth, but I think the H might be silent. But Thoth,
Yeah.
Thoth, yeah, whatever.
Thoth, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what Thoth is more based on astrology symbolism, I think. I don't know. Do you know more about that?
Well, a little, because when I did the interview with Ollie, he
Mhm.
asked about this. And so what I like about Rider-Waite is that the pictures are so symbolic. So even if you don't know how to read tarot, you can just look at the pictures, and honestly, there'll be times where I'm doing a reading and maybe you're the same, where there's an aspect of the picture that I'm just really focused on that I wasn't focused on in another reading. And so there's like a message in that
Yeah.
image, or that, like, if there's a bird in the background, or there's just things you notice. And so I like the symbolism. Whereas Marseille, there's no people in it. They're just objects. And so it's like it's like reading a different language, right? There's no people in it. You can't look at facial expressions. Like, it's just, so I never got into the Marseille. I think the Marseille is kind of where it all began, like way back in the day. And then Thoth, I think is how it's pronounced. It's very like sexualized, I think. Like, yeah, like, and I might be wrong. So again, the reason I say that is because I'm on this arc. Well, it used to be like a spot for tarot readers to go and get guidance, and now it's just a archive. It's shut down, but you can go and search things. I'll send it to you. You can search.
Is it a website?
And it used to be like this online thing where you can actually get help, but then they closed it down, and I don't know why. So when I first started reading tarot, I would post my readings and get a lot of feedback. And then it's just helpful to learn like what resonates, what doesn't. I still learn so much from it. And what I've learned from the members on there about Thoth is that it's very deep. It's very complex. Like, the book apparently is like a novel, and that like there's a lot of like, I don't know if there's a lot, but I know with like strength, for example, that card is actually called lust, and it's very like sexualized. And strength can be a very sexual card depending on the context. But so that's what I've heard. But yeah, Rider-Waite all the way. I'm a Rider-Waite fan too.
Yeah, same. I actually have a quick question for you about that. So one thing, so I have the traditional Rider-Waite. I have my druid craft, and I have this other one. I forgot what the name of it is. And then I have one oracle deck. So I mean, I have not expanded my range, I guess, with tarot decks. I just have my favorites and I stick with those. Like, something has to really jump out to me. Like the oracle deck I just got on Thanksgiving, and that was my first oracle deck. I've just never really been drawn to them at all. But anywho, so again, I was at a metaphysical store, and I was talking to this guy there, and he was really into like Native American symbolism, and he started getting into this conversation about this tarot deck he really liked, that the focus was on animals. And I was looking over it, and it just like wasn't speaking to me. And I also have one that's with fairies, and I've used it maybe once, and it just, again, it doesn't resonate with me. And fairies are like, they look like humans, right? So you would think, but yeah, I don't know, like if it's not like people, I guess, I don't know, I just don't connect with it. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are, or your experiences with that.
Yeah, I think it's good that you like have like stayed to like a certain amount of cards that you like are really. What was that?
That's my doggy.
Oh, I thought it was something on the computer. I didn't know you had a dog.
Yeah, black lab. He's nuts.
Oh, we love labs. Okay, so I'm the opposite. I have like way too many decks, and I do not need any more. I think I have like 30.
Oh my God.
And I don't even use them all, right? It depends. Like, some are different, I have a variety and I use them based off, but there are some that I don't even touch. But like you, I bought a used deck once, and it was it was an oracle deck. I love oracles. I think you're going to love them. I think that they like, I'll do the tarot reading and then I'll like pull oracles to kind of solidify the message or end the reading. And it always ties everything in together. So I love oracles for that. But yeah, I got this used deck and I knew that I'd have to clear it, and it like would not clear. And like, I don't know, you'll probably know this, and any other tarot reader who's watching, like you can tell when you are connected to your deck, just like you were saying.
100%. Yeah.
Like you just can't, like you're not vibing with it. And that's what I tell people. And it's so hard. You have a relationship with your deck. Like mine are like my babies. Like I won't even travel without, I used to not travel without a deck with me. Like it's just,
wow.
I wanted it to come with me.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
Yeah. So I got this deck, and it was a Colette Baron Reed deck. And anyone who knows her, like she's got amazing oracles. If you like oracles, I love her decks.
Yeah. I've definitely heard of her.
So I was just really like, why isn't this working? So I cleared it more, and it took, I want to say it took like over 6 months for me to actually be able to use it. And to this day, I still, like all my other decks, I can just whip out, kind of knock on them and use them. And then this deck, it's like, I have to like really put my intention in, and I never know if I'm going to connect with it or not. So, which is unfortunate because I love it. Like I really love it.
Do you feel like because it's used, that was the issue, or was it like the card deck itself? Like if you were to buy that deck new, do you think it'd still be the same issue?
No, I think it's because it was used, which is just so weird because I've cleared it. But I mean, now it's been sitting in my office and in my energy for so long. It might be different now. I mean, I've owned it for over a year now, easily. But no, I bought, like I showed you that other deck, I bought the Gilded Tarot Royale, like the fancier
so
version.
Beautiful.
And it was like immediate, and it was a new deck. I cleared it, and I initially like right away connected to it. So yeah, I totally get that sometimes you just don't. And I think that's how a tarot reader knows, like, is this deck for me? You'll just connect with it. Like, it's like, you can't really describe it.
How do you explain that process?
Like connecting with it?
What?
Like connecting with it?
Yeah, like if you're talking to someone who, like, I don't know, maybe someone's watching this and like they haven't gotten into tarot yet, or maybe they're interested. Like, what do you mean by that? You just know or connect with?
Gosh, I mean,
like, what is that experience like for you? What does it feel like? What does it look like?
For me, it was just like, when I saw the deck, like I couldn't stop staring at it.
Yeah, same. That's how I was with my oracle. Like I was trying to leave it, and I just kept getting drawn back to it.
Same. Like I didn't buy it right away. It was watching this woman do a few readings, and it had nothing to do with her ability. Like, I mean, I'm sure she was great. I don't even remember. I was just zoomed in on these images and like the colors, and just like a kid in the candy shop, almost like, wow, like that's so pretty.
Yeah.
So that's one way. I can't really describe it. It's just like, you just know. Like if you look at a deck and you think it's ugly, then don't get it. Like that's not
right.
I don't think that will work. I mean, it doesn't mean it won't work. It just means it's a relationship, right? So if you're not attracted, it's like a human. Like if you're not attracted to this person, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. If you have a lukewarm, sort of tepid, like, maybe. I would say that's a no.
Yeah. You want to be drawn to it for sure. And I always recommend people, and you may agree, if you're just getting started, to get the Rider-Waite because of the symbolism and the human pictures. To this day, I've been reading for a while. You've been reading for a long time, and I still prefer the Rider-Waite, even though I know what all the cards mean. The pictures speak to you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So moving in a little bit more to our discussion, how would you describe the major arcana versus the minor arcana to someone who, had no idea?
Yeah. First of all, I love the minor and I love the major, but I kind of love the major a little bit more.
Me too. Me too.
I like them both, but I don't know. I love the major. Well, okay, answer your question. So from my understanding, major arcana focuses on more complex life lessons, more complex ideas, more complex symbolism. There's a larger story to be told, and perhaps a journey, right? Well, the Fool is the start of that journey, right? So this journey through life. And I mean, there's major themes, right? Major archetypes, major understandings, wisdom that can be embodied into the day-to-day decisions we make, which I think is more the minor arcana, sort of these shorter pathways, shorter lessons, even like specific skill sets, or how to practically apply understanding to a specific situation. Where I see is like the major is more like ideas, and ideal, right? It's a little bit more abstract, I feel like. I think obviously the majors can be applied in practical ways,
right?
But there's, to me, a larger, richer story within the majors. And also too, like, I see, and we might get into this later, but I see the minor, right, as this story of maturity and growth within that suit, right? Whatever that might represent. And like the majors, yes, there's the 0 to what, 22, I think it is, or 23. What is it?
21, I believe.
What is the world?
No, let me see. I have it. Is it 20? You might be right. Hold on. I have it here. It's 21.
21. Okay, there's 22 cars because the Fool is 0. Okay,
right.
I got mixed up there. But like, I don't necessarily see that as like a linear path, right? We can kind of flow back and forth within the major arcana, depending on, you know, what our life purpose is, or whatever the context of, you know, the reading you're focusing in on, and like just flowing back and forth within like the same lesson. Whereas the minor I see is a little bit more structured. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said there. Yeah, the majors are the major life lessons, right? The long themes. Like, I don't know when you've been reading for yourself if you've seen this, but I've noticed this not only with reading for myself, but for others. Like if a major comes up for them and then they ask me for a reading like a month later, often that same major will reappear, right?
Yeah.
Because it's still pertinent to what they're going through. And you might see that there for a long. I have clients that it's like the same cards every time they come to see me, and I'm like, so like I have to like reword it differently because these people probably think I'm just like pulling the same cards, and I'm like, I swear, like I shuffle. But yeah, so the majors are these life lessons. Like if I'm doing a reading and I see like all majors, I'm like,
oh yeah,
like
yeah, that's a big one.
This is intense. This person's going through a lot. And I think it helps, like just the awareness of that can really help someone understand what's going on, so they can like not feel like they're going crazy or something, that there's actually these energies going on and playing out in their life. Whereas the minors, they're so changeable. I think you said that, like, like they're not really long-term energies. Like, they're, the best way to describe it is they're changeable. They're not mutable. Yeah, maybe mutable. They're just not, I don't want to say not as important, because everything's important, but they're more like the day-to-day ins and outs of life. Like, for example, if I do reading and it's like all minors, it doesn't mean that this person's life isn't important or anything. It just means that like they're maybe more focused on the details of life. And it's kind of nice to have periods like that. Like, we don't want to have every single period of life like all majors. Like, that would be intense. Like, we don't want that. We need the break. And so I always tell people, if you're bored, that's good, because peace, to me, boredom is peace.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of how I differentiate the major from the minor. I, like you, like the majors more because they're so deep. Like, you can just go so far with them. Whereas with the minors, yeah, I just, as much as when I do a reading, like, and I see all majors for me, I'm like, oh crap. Like, I've had some pretty intense experiences with like the Death, the Tower, the Ten of Swords all together. And it was all that and more, you know, the way I experienced it. Yeah, it was intense. But with them, I'm trying to think like my experience with the minor too. Like, The minor are more, yeah, like day-to-day things like money issues and stuff like that. And,
I feel like too, because they're a little bit more direct than the compared to the major, I feel like they can offer more of a roadmap when understanding the major lessons or themes or ideas. Like I said, the majors are so abstract and it can be so variable depending on who's asking the question, what the context is. Is this a general reading, spiritual love? I also see kind of majors as, again, I'm thinking of like within different spreads, it could be different, but like, for example, what we fear in a major comes up. Like for me, that's like your perception, right? And like the shift might need to occur within your mindset. Like how can you reframe this mindset and what lesson can be learned within it?
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I like how you said that, because like, let's just say there's this major that comes up for someone, and you could, if you like, my next question is about clarifiers, or even asking for additional information. If you say like, how can this person learn this lesson, and you get a minor, that can be really helpful. It's more applicable, right?
Yeah.
Because if you got another major, you'd be like, okay,
man,
like
there's a couple things here.
Yeah.
Thing.
So do you use clarifiers? How do you use them? What are your
I typically use clarifiers in larger spreads. Also, I'm about to say this word wrong. I know it. Is it Celtic or Celtic?
I don't know. My
really husband always makes fun of me. I think it's Celtic.
Celtic was this. I heard it on a movie the other day, and I swear they said Celtic too.
Yeah, I think it's Celtic.
Okay, we'll go with Celtic.
Okay. But I feel like in these larger spreads, like the Celtic cross, there's so much opportunity to go in different directions with that. And I think when multiple competing ideas are coming up as to what direction you can go, or some of the messages are kind of muddled, I'm more likely, I feel like, to use clarifiers there. But like in shorter spreads, like maybe a 3-card spread, I'm less likely to use clarifiers. But that's just my experience. And not to say I haven't ever used it. I have, of course. But well, it was talking about, what was I asking? Oh, I think I was just trying to clarify like a direction I wanted to go in professionally. And 7 of Wands came up, and I clarified that. And Queen of Swords came up, but reversed. And it was literally the same message, I feel like, right? This sort of defensiveness. And I was like, okay, thanks. Yeah, I get it. This is pretty clear now.
Yeah. So clarifiers can help or hinder. So I always tell people who are just starting out, do not read clarifiers, or not. Sorry. Yeah, clarifiers, can confuse you, as well as reversals. And we'll talk about reversals.
Oh yeah.
But I just say, just start off with the basics. And I usually, because I do both, I'll usually put the intention out there to the card, to spirit, like, this is an upright reading. Like, I'm only reading upright. Like, I have to tell the card what I'm, putting out there. And then if I'm doing reversals, then, that's different. But I feel like I clarify, but sometimes that can confuse me. It can help or confuse. And so on that platform that I was using before, they have, I was saying it's a bit controversial, because a lot of people feel like when you ask for a clarifier, like if you have a card and you say, please clarify this, what you're actually asking is, say this in a different way that I can understand. And what a lot of people will do is they'll read the cards as separate. And what I've learned in this channel is, if you ask to clarify, you have to find the common theme between both these cards, because
that's how I see it too.
Right. Now, I agree and I disagree, because the way I read is I don't always ask clarify. I'll say, tell me more.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
So that's a bit different.
Yeah.
So again, it goes to like, what is your connection with the cards? What are you actually asking? And
so important. What are you asking?
Right. So if some people don't read clarifiers on that and it works for you, then keep doing that. But I always just set the intention to what you're looking for. Like, especially if I like already think I know what this is saying and then it shows me that card, then I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very clear. But I like clarifiers, and like you, especially in a bit busier spread, sometimes I'll actually use 2 decks. It's like I have 2 of the same decks, and I'll use, and I hate it when the exact same card clarifies the card.
Isn't that incredible though?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah. I'm still not getting it. But with like simple spreads like you, like with like a 3 card, I might not. What I do like to do is, now that you're into oracles, if I do like a 3 card oracle spread, like past, present, future, I'll clarify with the tarot on top of that to give me more depth sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm still practicing with the oracle, but I really like that point you brought up about, wait, what are we asking? So like when you said clarifier, like I immediately, my question was, help me better understand this card, right? And but you know, if like the clarify, when I think of clarifier, I'm not thinking how do I get to this lesson, right? Isn't that kind of what you're asking? Like using a clarifier to ask a different question?
Again, it depends on your relationship with your card, and like be very clear with what you're asking. So for example, like if I see the 7 of Swords, for example, I do a lot of love reading. So the 7 of Swords, as a lot of people know, can be a card of, you know, a little bit of sneakiness, right? It can be a cheating card. Doesn't mean it always is though, right? It doesn't mean that every time you see this card.
It is lack of trust.
Right. Or it can mean that you're being stealthy, or that you actually need to be stealthy, or that this person is just trying to like use strategy, right? It doesn't have to be deception. But if I'm seeing some other energies in the deck that make me wonder, sometimes I'll be like, what is this person doing that's sneaky?
Yeah.
Or who are they doing? Or, you know, like I'll literally ask, and sometimes that will help me clarify, is this person doing something like deceptive, or is this person just using strategy to like, you know, reach their goals or something like that. So I mean, again, I'm going to keep saying it. It's like, it's how you connect with your deck and like what your relationship is, because the way you read is going to be very different than the way I read.
100%. Yeah. I feel like if I have a card that comes up and I find that there's a larger question, like in the larger spreads, and a card comes up where I feel like I need a clarifier, and then I clarify it like, okay, yes, I do understand that, but the message or lesson of the card is still lost on me, I will actually do a separate spread just with that.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the same thing too. Yep. And sometimes that has helped me, and sometimes I'm like, I just need to take a break. Like, we just need to,
no, 100, me too.
just let's just,
there's
not
too many
lessons
today. Happening.
Like, have you ever gotten, I don't know, I think I should like trademark this term, but have you ever had tarot hand, like where you just read, like it's a real thing? Have you had it before, where your hand is like sore, and like I'm like, oh my god, I have issues, like I need to get, like, because you just keep asking, whether it's for you or whether it's just, if I'm bored, I just ask random, you know, questions. That's how I learn, like, you know, what's coming up for me, or, you know, what will the outcome of this be? And you just get you get tarot hand, and it hurts.
So I'm so glad that you actually brought this up, because that is definitely an external sign that I need to take a break, walk away, clear out whatever is happening. But too, so like before I start, I kind of have like a mini ritual when before I connect with my cards, to try to release ego, release biases. I just am quiet, do some breathing, and I have start talking to my spirit guides and my angels. This is what I say. I say something like, thank you, spirit guides. Thank you, angels. Thank you for allowing me to connect to my higher self. I really appreciate your guidance and helping me better understand blah, 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 you know, whatever my question is. I just kind of sit there with breathing, and it's almost immediately, and this is when I know it's a good time to read, is it's almost like a hug right? So
Yeah.
when I get like a hug and I feel kind of like chills a little bit, but when you get a hug by someone you love and you just like have this like happy emotion sort of thing, and I feel calm, focused, and I kind of loosen up my hands too, because I don't want to be too rigid with the cards. I want spirit to be able to work through me
Mm-hmm.
so that they can show me the cards I need to see. And I find that when my hands are looser, like the deck might fall, and like that's kind of informing me they need to rearrange the cards a little bit. And so just like
Mm.
scooping that up. So kind of going to your point with like tarot hands, I notice when my ego starts coming back into the picture, I
Yeah.
start getting more tense and um controlling, dictating the cards. I'm getting like more exhausted. My mind is starting to race, and I'm like, oh wait, Felicia's back in here.
Yeah.
I need to take a step back.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who gets tarot hand.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, or when you get like frustrated or you start swearing at your deck, that's probably a good time to take a break.
I would
Um,
say so. Yep.
um, my deck, I'm sure if anyone watches this and they've had this, I'd love to hear, but I don't know if this has happened to you. My deck will show me the devil if I'm asking too much. It's literally,
Really?
yeah, yep. It'll show me the devil. It'll show me four swords, take a break. It will literally like over, and I tell you, I will shuffle. And then like, I remember one day I was like testing it too. I was like, I know that I'm asking too much, but I don't care. I'm not leaving until you give me an answer. And it kept showing me the devil. It kept showing me the four swords. It kept showing me the eight of cups. Like it's literally saying, stop.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing this right now. And I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone else.
Love that.
It's really crazy. And I talk to spirit and I'm like, you know what? Fine. I feel
Yeah.
like, like, and then I apologize later and I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I love it. And I think spirit shows us what we need, like hover whichever way we need to hear that message to slow down and stop. Like for you, it's sort of the devil or the four swords, right? These specific cards, like to let you know we're done here. For me, it's sort of that like physical feeling of like tension,
Oh, okay.
right? And sort of the mental gymnastics that start happening in my head, right? So I don't actually see any specific cards. One thing I will notice is that the same cards keep coming up. Like I'm not getting anything different.
Yep, that's so annoying, right? Sometimes when you're like, okay, because yeah, you want a different answer and you're not going to get one, right? This is your
No.
answer. I'll also add before I ask my other question is I don't recommend, and I'm sure you agree, to not do a reading when you're in a like highly activated or emotional or triggered,
100%.
because it's gonna show you probably where you're at, and you're gonna interpret that for what's coming. Like it's
Yeah.
just a bad path to go down.
Well, and right, like we just been saying, ego is in the driver's seat at that point.
Yeah. So
You're not really connected to spirit or listening to spirit.
no, and I don't always listen to my own advice. I've done it anyways before, but I take it with a grain of salt because I'm so emotional. But I do try to stay away from it until but my relationship with my deck is a lot better now. Like I can tune in faster. Like I do have a bit of a ritual. I always clear my deck. I knock on it. Sometimes I'll put a crystal on it. Like I have my black tourmaline to just clear it of any energy. Sometimes I'll do something similar to you where I'll just, especially if I'm about to read for someone that I'm nervous about, like a client who's having a lot of trouble. And I always have to remind myself, like, it's not my job to fix this person or fix their problems. How they receive this message is on them. I'm just the, messenger. But I always ask spirit if I'm feeling nervous, or even if I'm not, like, especially for new clients, I get so nervous. And because I think that's my own, like, I'm trying to like seek validation or, approval, right? That's another video to talk about. But so I'll ask spirit just to please, like, guide, spirit, angels, please, help me not only understand the messages, but deliver them in a way that this person can hear.
Yes. Yep.
So
Love that.
So before we get into the Fool, My last question is about like numerology and the numbers, because like, what are your thoughts on that when it comes to the cards and their numbers?
I love numerology. I do. I think there's a lot of great symbolism there. I see them. It informs my intuition a little bit more with the minor arcana, just because I feel like the majors are so complex and rich on their own. And so fluid within the pathway, that they don't inform me as much. However, there is great symbolism there. Like today we're talking about the Fool, 0. I actually really like the number 0. It encompasses so much, I don't know, like potential, excitement, new beginnings. It, everything that can be already is. You just have to explore and evolve and find it, right? And so like there's a really great message there that I think pairs well with the Fool card. But as far as with the minor arcana, ace is 1, and then we go to 10, right? Like I see that as a more linear progression of mastery over the suits, compared to that with the major. It's kind of my quick snapshot of that one.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm sometimes I use numbers and sometimes I don't, because again, I'm not an expert in numerology or anything.
Wait, can I interrupt you? This just came up in my head, and I feel like before I forget it, if I see the same number, if I have like a larger spread and I keep seeing the same numbers come up over and over again, or like say 4, 8, 2, things like that, I'm like, okay, I'm being told to focus in on something.
Yes. You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's great. We're aligned.
We're on the same page here.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. So like, for example, I don't even know who I was doing the reading for, who was for myself or a client, but a lot of 7s started coming up. And I don't know, from what I've learned, like there's certain numbers that are just, they have more of a positive association. For example, or not even positive or negative, just something like, for example, 2s are about duality, right? Choice, right? 3s are about expansion, 6s are about harmony. So I don't know, like, and we can talk about this as we get on, but like the 6 of Pentacles is about giving and receiving. The 6 of Swords is about moving forward, but also leaving where you've been. The 6 of Wands is about, victory, but also the people who are, worshiping or providing you that recognition. And then like, you know what I mean? They're all, so I associate numbers in terms of that. And then like you, if a number keeps coming up, I know it means something. I can't always figure out what, but I know 5s and 7s are a bit more challenging. Would you agree?
Yeah. 5s to me represent more external struggles, and 7s are more internal battles.
Oh, interesting. I should pay attention to that.
I kind of see that external is sort of, what do we feel like we're fighting against, or what do we perceive as fighting us or creating resistance? Like it feels very much like an external locus of control mentality, where like, how do I need to stand up and take control of this outside thing? Whereas the 7s are more like this internal struggle that we may or may not be recognizing.
That's really interesting. I've never thought about that. Like just thinking about all the 5s right now, like the 5 of Cups, the 5 of Wands, the 5 of Swords, like it is usually there's an external battle, conflict, like upheaval. So that's really interesting. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that more.
Because 7s just feel very like mystical, spiritual, like this idealistic knowledge resource. It just doesn't feel external at all to me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm gonna keep note of that when I read and see if that changes anything for me. I mean, is there anything else that you want to mention just about the basics before we start talking about the Fool?
We didn't really talk about reversals at all.
Ooh, okay. Let's do it.
Reversals. So I've been told, so here's the dealio. I don't know why I had this sort of complex, like I haven't articulated it yet, but like I didn't really share with a ton of people that I read tarot or that I'm really interested in esoteric things. I don't know if that's like some kind of shame guilt spiral that blocked me from that. But you're probably one of the first people that does the same thing as me that I've talked to. I mean, there's been people I meet in like stores or something, we have chats, but like it's not something I talk about super in depth. And like close friends and some family, not even all my family doesn't even know that I read or that I'm like so invested or interested in it. But anywho, I was unaware that the way that I read reversals wasn't super common. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, but what I have come to understand with reversals, some people read reversals as negative or like a no, or just all, I don't know, it's very black and white. It sounds like some people read them. And I never really saw reversals in that way. I see it for a few things. Not always. Of course, I think depending on the placement of the card too, and a spread will inform more, but like, you know, if it's reversed, maybe this is something internal I need to be a little bit more introspective about, you know, examining some like belief systems I might have. I might read a reversal that way. I might also see reversals as sort of a lower vibrational expression of the higher lesson of the card. Is it a minor arcana? Is it major arcana? Yep. Like all of these things are going to inform how many reversals are there, right? What numbers are associated with it. So for me, like reversals, there's a lot more complexity than just sort of this black or white. Oh, it means something bad.
Right.
Or you're stuck or blocked, which I mean, maybe I don't necessarily see anything as bad. But there might be some blockages there, but that would probably be the farthest I go as far as like negative interpretation of it. What about you?
Yeah, there's certain cards that are associated with, you know, like people don't like death and they don't like the Tower and they don't like, you know, they just have these.
See, I love those cards.
Right.
But that's that Pluto Scorpio in me, though. I think
totally.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, let's transform.
Destruction.
I love it. Yeah. So people freak out. I've learned to really like the Tower too, especially because I've experienced Tower moments. Literally, that the cards showed me, and then later went through the lesson and came out so much better. Right.
So much better.
Yeah. And I'm like I needed that. So, anyways, but. Yeah, with reversals, upright reversals, no card is good, no card is bad. They're just and good and bad is a perception, right? Totally a perception. Like I go through my life with the idea that there are no such thing as mistakes, right? Because it's a lesson, it's a learning, it's a journey. And if there are such things as mistakes, then we're supposed to be perfect and on this linear path. And
there's only one right way, Angeli.
Gosh. Right. And I said this in the podcast with Ollie, like, and I've said it with clients in my day job, like, you know, healing is not linear.
Not at all.
If you feel like you've taken like they'll say, I feel like I'm going backwards, or like I'm, you know, whatever, I'm not doing what I need to do, or I've made a mistake, or whatever the languages they use, I'll tell them that, and I'll be like, and they'll agree, you know, like healing is not linear. People who are familiar with the process of grief, that's not linear either. I mean, nothing is really linear. And I'll say, if that's true, the healing is not linear, then you're wrong. Like I'll say that, like then you're wrong. Like you're not behind, you're not backstepping. Like that is just part of the journey. And sometimes we need to just and astrology, which a lot of tarot readers will combine with tarot, can be really useful too, because we have periods in astrology that are meant for resting, rejuvenating, and reflecting, and not
winter.
Right. Yeah. And good old retrogrades, right?
Oh boy.
Are really good.
Actually, I don't mind retrogrades too much.
I don't either, because I know that I don't need to be pushing forward and like like I can just chill, right? I don't need to be so hard on myself. But to get back to the question about reversals, I sometimes use them, I sometimes don't. I don't really have a method to when. It's more like if I'm really struggling to get the message, I'll do that. And again, context is everything. So sometimes it is a block, or or sometimes it's a delay, or sometimes it's just still in process. Sometimes it's no, this is not for you, right? It literally depends on the spread, the position, the other cards that are surrounding it. And same with the majors. I don't know if you've seen this. I've heard and have seen this sometimes in my own readings. If a major is in reverse, it can sometimes mean that the major before that card, that lesson hasn't been integrated.
I have heard that. Yeah. I have heard that. I think it's interesting, and in the past, I have looked back at the previous card and thought about it, and for me, it complicates and confuses the matter, I think, at hand. So I have stopped doing that. But I think in my own evolution with reading, the journey through the majors, I don't see that as linear. And I know we just talked about that, right? So you don't need to complete one step before going on to the next. So for me, it's no longer as informative or helpful for understanding the message of the spread or the card.
Right. Yeah, that actually is a good point. I never thought of that. Yeah, usually like if I get a reversal, especially if it's a major, I'll ask like, what can this person do to flip this back upright or to integrate the lesson, or and then yeah, like reversals can definitely help, but I still have to check myself, because there is that initial to just think, this is not good. A lot of reversals just means a lot of internal stuff sometimes. Like this person's just really internal. Maybe they're introverted. Maybe they're doing a lot of reflecting. I noticed in Mercury retrogrades, a lot of cards will be in reverse if I'm reading for reversals. Like it's like not the right time to push forward. And I laugh. And then some reversals actually have positive meanings, right? Like it depends how you read. Like some people, it depends. Like some people, like the Five of Cups, for example, I've heard that it can, and to me, it means different things. Sometimes it can mean like this person is in deep grief, like the water's going everywhere, all the cups are upside down. But sometimes it can mean that this person is healed, right? They're healing from this. They're no longer in despair. So do you find that too, that sometimes it's a more positive meaning?
Yeah, actually, so and this kind of informs how I read reversals in general. So I'm just like, the first image that came in my head was like yin yang and light and dark, light, shadow. Like one's not good or bad. They're just part of one whole piece, right? In order to move forward, evolve, grow, we need to acknowledge the shadow parts of self. And at times, like that shadow part keeps us safe in a way, or it informs us of some fears that we might be lingering or holding on to. And that's not negative in any way. It's a whole gold mine of information for us to make healthier decisions for ourselves. So there are some upright cards where again, I'm not saying that it's bad or good, but I think they could represent a shadow side of self, and I think too, in context with what other cards are around it and what story is being told, would really inform. But I don't see reversals. I can see how they would be considered good, but I don't use that language. So it's hard for me to like have that conversation with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I say it, I use this word and people probably get so annoyed by it, but like context is everything, right?
I know. How many times we need like a counter, like drink every time you hear that.
Because there's no black and white with tarot. There's no right or wrong.
No way.
For example, the devil reverse often can mean breaking free from addictions, old patterns.
I can see that.
Right? So like that's a great card to have in reverse, again, depending on the context. We covered a lot. I'm gonna timestamp it too, so people can just go to the topic. But
So fun.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on before we like jump into the Fool? Is there anything else that anyone needs to know?
I mean, I don't think so. We kind of talked a little bit about spreads, which was interesting, but I think this conversation was so appropriate for our discussion about the Fool, because I think we covered, at least in my understanding of the Fool, we covered a lot of aspects or characteristics that the Fool card represents, like opportunities, beginnings, trusting the journey, your inner knowing, right? So these are things that sort of pop out in my mind. I actually love the Fool. When I see that in spread, it's one of my favorite cards.
I do too. So I wrote some keywords down. So like you said, new beginnings, a new journey, adventure, a leap of faith, innocence, like a free spirit, endless possibility, right? Because this is 0. And trust, like you have to have some trust, right? In my
giving up control,
right? Yeah,
like a hyper control,
kind of in trust too, because in the Rider-Waite, the traditional, there's a man about to jump off a cliff, right? Like he doesn't really know where he's going. He doesn't really have much with him. Yep, there he is. Yep, he's just like freedom. Now there are some associations with astrology and the majors. I think the Fool is actually associated with Uranus.
Yeah.
Which is all about innovation, and Uranus can be a bit reckless though. And we can talk about that with the Fool too, especially in reversal, right? So let's talk about the Fool upright first. So we mentioned some keywords. So I thought it might be helpful to give some examples of when the Fool appeared for you or a friend or whoever, and what it meant for them, what context it was in. Like, do you have any stories like that?
Nothing. You probably asked this, but I don't remember. I didn't think of anything.
That's okay.
Yeah. So why don't you share first? And if something pops up in my memory, I'll share too, but you go first.
So again, context is everything. But I have to say it, but the Fool, so let's talk about like in career, right? If I see the Fool come up in a career reading,
I see what you're saying.
I'm seeing, this person is starting on a new path. Now that could be a new job, that could be a new job within your organization or company. It's a brand new path, right? We know that. Sometimes I'll clarify to see like, what this journey might look like, and sometimes I don't get a very clear answer because you're not supposed to know. Right?
You're not supposed to.
It's the Fool, right?
So
that's like very general, like in a career reading, like what's like, if I was saying what's coming up for this person, I would be like new job, new beginning, maybe even a fresh perspective. But when it's a major, I think it's more than a perspective. Usually there's something pretty big going on. In love readings, I do love readings the most. Those are my most popular. So I'm more familiar with that. But for example, if I do a love reading and someone's asking about this person or who is this person in this relationship, and if it comes up to describe the person, I usually say this is a free spirit. This is someone who's not really wanting to settle down or commit, not at this point. Now, it doesn't mean that won't change, but in this moment, this person is just having fun. They're living in the moment. So that can help someone, right? Like maybe you don't sit down and be like, where is this going? Right. That might not go well with someone who's like the Fool, right? Because they don't know where they're going. They're just going. Yeah. So as an outcome in love readings, I've seen it come up when the person is no longer together. They're not with that person anymore, because the Fool is on a new journey and they're alone. So I've seen that before, but because the Fool is just pretty positive, I haven't really seen this as devastating. Usually by that point, the person has made peace that they're not going to be with this person, or they've chosen to go on their own path. So it's come up for new beginnings in love in terms of that. Did that ring any bells, or do you have any?
Yeah, no, totally. I guess I was like, is she asking for a specific reading? Because I do not remember that. Yes, this was the question, this was the spread, and this was the card. No, I don't remember that. But while you were talking, yes, all of a sudden bells started to ring, wheels started to move. And again, I think this is because you do this as your business, right? Like, I mean, you have your tarot
Very
reading
little business.
Hype yourself up, girl.
Very little, but yes.
And I can see why having you have, I love the way you read because it's very direct, based in reality. And my perspective, I'm always like an abstract world. I'm like, well, where could you see the Fool being beneficial in your life? Like I always want to like bring it back.
But that's good too, right? Like that's what I love. Like people read differently. Like I think that's the wonderful thing about tarot readers. Like you get such different but necessary guidance from each reader.
Yeah. Well, and I'm looking at the card now, right? Okay, so
and I'll post it. Yeah, I'll post both.
This guy is somewhat prepared, right? He's got his little knapsack here. It's a good day, bodes well for happiness, good mood, right?
My guy doesn't have anything. He's just
just going.
He'll buy things on the way. Yeah, he's like, I don't need anything.
I love it. And then this dog here, right? I guess depending on how you think of it or see it, the dog might be warning him, hey, bro, there's a cliff there, my friend. Or I see dogs as very loyal and will follow them anywhere, right? Even off the edge of a cliff, like maybe in like a love reading or like when you're thinking of other people, like you have people around you that are supporting you, who believe in you, who are willing to go through the trenches with you. Like I consider you, every time I have an idea with you, you're always like, yes, girl. And I'm like,
oh, I am a yes person.
I know. I don't have a lot of experience with that. And part of that is because I'm not typically someone who shares their creative ideas. So to do that, be brave, risk that, right? Like the Fool, take the courageous step and then have your loyal bud cheering you on. Like that's such an exciting card for me. And I love that. If I was to see it reversed in a reading, I might ask someone, or I might ask myself, like, in what ways do you feel like you want to be more free or express yourself or find opportunities? Like that's how I would kind of perceive it. Like if there's a blockage of sorts, it's chains on yourself.
Yep.
That you're doing kind of thing. And like spiritual, like if there's sort of a spiritual message going on, are you maybe too focused in on the mundane day to day? Are you trying to hyper control everything? What would it feel like to not know the answer to something? But what comes up for you with that? How can we challenge that? So by the way, everyone watching, we're both psychologist type people. So lots of introspective thoughts.
Counseling and tarot go very well together. So I actually view it as like spiritual counseling, right? It's just a different tool.
I love that.
We could talk Freud or we can talk tarot, right? But they're both going to help us get to, the root and to heal and all that. So let's talk about some keywords with the Fool reverse. So I think foolish, right?
Okay.
I think, naivety can be both upright and reverse, but like you could be being too naive if it's reverse as well. You could be too scared to take a risk, right? Like you kind of mentioned. It can be immaturity. Like I've seen it in this, like I remember specific spreads. I don't know how. I've seen it come up as a person in reverse, and it turned out that this person was just very immature, like just not ready to be in a relationship, very childlike, like just very immature. It can also, again, depending on the context, like if you were to start a new venture and this was like where this is heading, again, depending on the other cards, I might say, this is a bit risky. Like maybe we need to put some safety nets in place first, because this could lead you maybe somewhere that, and again, if it led you somewhere that you didn't want to be, it would still be okay. Like I always tell my clients, trust your own intuition, not mine. because even if I've said this before in another interview, even like people want to just know what the right thing to do is, right? So I can just live happily ever after and have my dream job. But the truth of the matter is, if you had your dream job and your dream lover, and you would still find something else that you weren't happy about. So if you leave a person or don't take a job, or take a job because of what I see, but you don't integrate the deeper message, the deeper lesson, you're still going to have to learn that lesson in a different area. Like you can't avoid it. So I always tell people, this is just guidance, because you still have to learn the lessons and integrate. And there's so much free will at play that the tarot is not always predictive. I mean, it has been. I've seen it come up as predictive for some people. And honestly, I had a client, and it was like, I saw that the relationship didn't look like it was going to work out. And it took years before that relationship finally ended. Years, right? So it doesn't mean I was right. And it doesn't mean that it was going to end like that. If that person put in the effort and their partner did, it may have been able to work, right? Because they have free will. But I'm kind of going on a tangent, but yeah, I don't think it's always predictive because of free will. But I think that if we see things like that look a little hasty, we can give some guidance so that sometimes people can avoid, some of
We're talking about the Fool reversed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh man, it's just so hard for me, because I don't see reversals like that, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if I got the Fool reverse, or if someone else, of course, depending on what the reading or question was about.
Right.
I'm just like,
but that's because you read differently, right?
I know. I just see it as opportunity to take a chance.
It can be that, right? It depends on how you read. And let me be clear, like, this is just general. It always depends on the reading, what the question is, where in the spread the card is. I often have clarifiers before I can say this is, an immature person, or, or maybe you're just not ready to take a leap, right? Maybe you're going to do this new venture, but there's some delays before you actually do it, right? So again, context is everything, but and readings are not always predictive. I don't actually like what I tell people is, like, when you come to the reading, the cards that show up are where you are in this moment, and what the potential outcome is if nothing changes.
Yeah.
So there is free will. So often if I see like an outcome and I see like anxiety, sometimes that person can avoid that anxiety, right? By being aware that if they don't do A, B, and C, you're going to get to this place where you're feeling really anxious. That's just an example. But I don't want to make it sound like the Fool reverse is negative. Not at all.
No. I'm not trying to say you are either. Sorry.
No.
I don't know why my brain is like slowly clicking. I don't know why I don't know. I just see it as like one side of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's good. I think people need to know that. And like I said, I read differently, and sometimes it comes up for what you're saying. It literally depends.
I think you would be such a good tarot teacher, because you do have a more structured way of looking at the tarot.
I don't like that word, structure.
Okay, I know. It's the Virgo in you, though. It's like
it is.
It's the higher vibration. Yeah, it's orderly.
Now, despite that,
I think it's easier to digest too. Well, because we have like pie in the sky here.
No, I think that's what makes us a good duo. Really, I think it does. We need both, right? We need the structure, but we need that abstract. And so I think it's funny that you say that, because a while ago I did think of these videos are meant to help teach in a way, but again, to add to your connection with your cards already. So I always say, if you come across something, like if we've said something in this about the Fool and you're like, oh my God, I never thought of it like that, that resonates, then it's for you. If you're like, no, then it's not, right? Like, and I've come across things in certain cards where I'm like, that just doesn't, that's not the way I see that card. That's not the way I've ever seen it. But that's the connection I have with my deck. So, but yeah, with teaching, I mean, it's good to teach a foundation, but I think a lot of the teaching comes from just doing readings and seeing what your relationship is with your deck and what cards mean. Like I'll take photos sometimes of readings and then wait to see what came out of that. For example, I've been playing around with timing, which some people do timing, don't recommend it. But you can sometimes, you can't, of course, you can't pinpoint the exact time. Maybe there's some psychic out there who can, but you can tell some energies are faster moving and some are slower, right? So there has been times where I've asked for timing, and I can think of 3 times the Page of Wands came out as the outcome. And this was over the last few years. And always that message came like within a week. It was fast, right? Like I didn't know when. Sometimes it came like the next day, sometimes it came like a week later. And so I just remember that in the back of my mind. Yeah. But you know, timing is something you should play around with later. And again, I always tell people time is fluid, doesn't exist, but some people like to know that because it can,
I know. I was just thinking in my head, wait, this is gonna sound super woo-woo, but like time is a construct.
No, agreed. I say that between all my readings. Same with when I do a past, present, future. I'll say time is fluid. Like clients that know me probably get sick and tired of hearing about it, but I always want to mention that in the beginning. Like time is fluid. So I'm saying past, present, future, but the past may not have occurred yet, right? Or maybe this occurred a long time ago already. Like that, you just have to, where we get this information, doesn't exist. So the time anyways. So but yeah, let's get back on the Fool. So
okay, I know I was
no, I was getting off too. So
I'm having so much fun though. This is so fun.
I know it is fun, and you know I'm learning too. So as a tarot reader, as an astrologer, whatever, actually any area, I don't believe we're ever experts. I think that there's always room for growth. I think you can get to a level of mastery. I like that word better, right? Where you're, but expert, I don't like that word. I'll never be an expert. So what's a lesson in the Fool? Like if we're thinking of these karmic lessons.
Yes. Fear isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think I talked about this earlier. I think it can inform us into where we might be limiting ourselves or creating limitations. And I think part of the lesson of the Fool is to not only accept and acknowledge that mistakes will be happen and made, but they're part of the lesson, is learning and not doing things the right way. Just understanding that things will work out in the direction you end up in, or the path you take is the exact one you're supposed to be on. And there's no judgment there. There's no judgment. Yeah. And I think it's so beautiful.
I like that. And let's go back to the word mistake. That we're just using that word, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what humans like to call them, but it's just your path.
Yeah.
Right. It's just really your path, but we like to call it a mistake. But yeah, I'm trying to think, when I see the Fool, like it's kind of hard to like think of the Fool as a lesson because it is the beginning, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But a lesson, like you said, could be to learn how to take risk. And I just like Brene Brown came into me right now about just being brave and being vulnerable, and just
there's so much beauty in that
you can't, like living a life without risk is just boring. Right? Like it's boring. And so I think the lesson in the Fool is it's okay to have some blind faith from now or from time to time. And that the path is unwritten. Like if you don't take a risk, you never know what you can create or what you can, what kind of adventure you'll go on. So, and trust. I think trust is a big lesson with the Fool.
Yeah, I'm trusting yourself that you'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
And to rely on others. Like, I think it's vulnerable for a lot of people to kind of reach out for help or assistance, or even acknowledge that they want that support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in such an individualistic culture like the Western world can be, or at least the States. Like we
Yeah.
have to do everything on our own, which I do see the Fool as somewhat of an independent and innovator, but he's still got his doggy friend right there. He still has his
Yeah.
cheerleading squad,
Well, and actually looking like I'm gonna put that photo up, but I'm also gonna put my gilded, it's not mine, but the
Yeah.
gilded tarot. So in the gilded tarot, they like, if you can see this, there's a ring of all the zodiac signs. So
Oh, interesting.
I'm
I
curious
like that.
what your thought is on that, because it, for the longest time, I didn't even notice it, to be
Really?
honest. Yeah, I didn't really like pay
Okay.
attention to that. And then I looked at it the other day and I'm like, this has to mean something. Like, are these representing different people along your path you're going to meet? Is this representing different archetypes? Because the zodiac signs are like, they're also archetypes. Or is this just the endless possibility because of, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Can I see the card again? It looks like he's kind of like a jester type
Yeah,
too.
yeah, he is.
Yeah. So I don't know. When I think of like the jester and the courts, um, someone who can be lighthearted, make fun of himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the world's his stage, and all the people are merely players. Wait, that's Shakespeare. Okay. But like, how we just kind of like take the chance of the unknown, and like everyone we meet has a story to tell us, to inform and help us grow in wisdom and clarity throughout the lessons of the majors. I don't know, that was just kind of like the quick
Yeah.
intuitive thought I had, but I like yours too. And I think it kind of informs that as well. Like everyone we meet, there's another possible way, right? Oh my gosh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting so woo-woo right now. Like
Oh, I love it.
I'm thinking of that movie Sliding Doors or something like
I
that,
don't think
where
I've heard of
Gwyneth
that.
Paltrow like misses the train in one version, and on the other train she makes it, and she like her whole
Mm.
life completely changes. Like she meets
It's,
one
it kind of
person.
sounds like the butterfly effect. Remember that movie?
Yeah, I remember that.
I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called. Yeah. The other thing that came to me when you were talking is also that the zodiac signs, it's within a year span. So I don't know if that means anything.
Could be, yeah. Like if you're thinking of timing and that comes up,
Maybe, yeah. I don't
like
know.
within a year's time.
Yeah, or it's just like a long journey. I mean, we know that with the Fool.
Going through all the seasons.
Yeah, the seasons, but also there's elements, right? There's air, there's fire, there's earth, there's water. So yeah,
There's just so many possibilities.
If anyone reads Gilded and comes across this video at any point while it's out there, I would be curious to know what people think that means, because I haven't really come to a conclusion on what I think it means for me. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
I like it. It's really cool.
So, I mean, is there anything else that we want to talk about before we like finish our discussion on the Fool?
How long have we even been talking? Like at least an hour.
It's been over an hour. I'm going to stop recording at some point, but I want to make sure that you've said everything you want to say about.
I feel like we could talk forever about this.
Oh God, yeah.
I guess we should stop somewhere.
Okay, so I mean, that's the Fool in a snippet. And again, this is general. This doesn't mean like these are the only meanings. Like, as people can tell, like you read very different than me. It's just to expand people's mind on what this might mean for them, or for someone who's really new to tarot to get some new insights to what it may mean.
So one more thing before we go. So I also do some witchy spells, and I lit my candles behind me for protection, clarity of voice, and grounding. Yay. And they are burning out as we speak. So for me, that is also a sign that our conversation today has come to a close.